Welcome to Fandoms, a show from every fan's point of view.
Yes, and welcome to Fandoms. It's Friday night, and we are going to go ahead and get started on a bunch of things that are going on. Just so you know, Will Wilkins is not with us this evening, but we have a special guest of Miggy Smith, Cell Phone Wallet Keys, our resident voiceover and amazing Did You Know creator for Nerd Initiative. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're also going to do another installment of the Cinema Smackdown. So we're looking forward to that tonight. And hopefully you're home, you're safe, you're within the weather. If you're having the winter weather that's going on around here, especially on the East Coast. But before we go ahead and get started, let's go ahead and have Pooja's picks. So take it away, Pooja.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pooja's Picks. My name is Pooja, and I'm here to bring you the latest in movie news. Let's get into some of the picks that we missed out over the last couple weeks, as well as what's playing now. After much media buzz last year, the new Mean Girls musical movie is out in theaters. The film is based on the Broadway stage musical, which was an adaptation of the original 2004 film, which was inspired by the self-help book Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman. Confused? Don't be. Just get in, loser, because we're watching the heck out of this fantastic new rendition of an iconic film we all know and love, and probably quote a little too much. Remember to wear your pink shirts, and be sure to check out a full review of the film right now on the Nerd Initiative website. James Samuel's The Book of Clarence is a biblical-era comedy-drama film that focuses on Clarence, a man who is a non-believer with a never-ending amount of debt. That is until he finds a way to milk out the benefits of being a messiah as a way to earn enough coin to relieve himself of his debts. Whatever debates this film has garnered, let it not be the thing that deters you from a hilarious and unique story that looks at the time period through a mythological lens, with an outstanding cast including Lakeith Stanfield, Alfred Woodard, Teyana Taylor, RJ Cyler, Omar Sy, Anna Diop, David Oyelowo, and even James McAvoy and Benedict Cumberbatch. And if you're convinced to check this out, be sure to read a full review of the film right now on Nerd Initiative. Netflix's The Kitchen is the directorial debut of both Daniel Kaluuya and Kiwi Tavares, and is a film that looks like it cannot be missed. The film takes place in a futuristic dystopian London where social housing has been completely eliminated, and there is a clear gap between the rich and the poor that is at its limit. While the film certainly is under the sci-fi genre, it looks to be unlike much of what we've seen in the past, as it narrows down its focus on the people of the story and their struggles. Be sure to catch this flick only on Netflix today. In theaters today, ISS centers around a group of astronauts from both US and Russia as they live abroad on the International Space Station. As tensions grow on Earth with war erupting everywhere, conflict arises amongst the astronauts as well, as they each receive orders from their own countries to take control of the station no matter what. The film appears to be a frightening outlook on the strength of humanity and our ability to cooperate, negotiate, and compromise despite ongoing external conflicts. For those who enjoy sci-fi or thriller films, this might just be for you. Well, that's all that we have for this week. Be sure to tune in to the next episode of Fandoms for more of Pooja's Picks. Until then, back to Tony.
And I absolutely love what she does with these recommendations, and especially like you said, we were chatting behind the video. This is definitely like you said, a tech noir. One of those is a tech noir film.
The Kitchen, that looks awesome, man. Like, I'm hyped to see that now.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know what's funny? I've seen a lot of takes on the Book of Clarence and stuff. That was a very interesting one. Is actually more descriptive than what I have seen, other than it was just like this guy that's happening to act like the Messiah in the midst of, while Jesus is there. So definitely interesting. Some great picks from Pooja. I'm glad to have her back for 2024.
Absolutely.
And speaking of 2024, we're going to talk about a couple things that Nerd Initiative is doing.
Big things.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. we started this in May of 2022, and we're
Wow.
already almost 2 years into this, and so much is going on between the comics bullpen, within television, movies. And I love the fact that with Pooja's pick, she also included like the articles that are involved with this.
Yes,
Because if you
that was
don't
great.
know, if you just watch us on the YouTube channels, you need to go check out nerdinitiative.com. Nerdinitiative.com is where it's at. You can also follow the contact link there in the QR code, which will take you to our contact section where you can fill out to be notified of things that are going on with our newsletter. But one of those things is something that's just recently released, and that is a project that kind of came by whirlwind. I heard about it last week, and then all of a sudden it was done, it was created, and I'm excited to be on it in the near future here. But it's called The Real Arena, and I want to go ahead and bring on one of our members, the host of The Real Study, MrSnidbits, to talk a little bit about The Real Arena. MrSnidbits, welcome.
Woo!
Hello, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
Always.
absolutely. And if MrSnidbits looks familiar, they were definitely on with us when it came to the SAG-AFTRA strike. We did a breakdown on that. You will definitely see them more as we talk movies, and of course the Cinema Smackdown. I know I've gotten volunteers from a number of people, so we'll be doing that, especially when Cinema Smackdown becomes its own show like The Real Arena. But could you do me a favor and just hit it is and what your idea is about everything?
Sure. So it's a 2 or 3 person game show about movies specifically. I can do TV. I'm even going to get to some specifics for like horror genre, because I know there's like horror fans that would love just to go head to head to each other for these movie games with horror. But I digress. Right now, it is just generalized movie games. So there are 4 potential games. There are more, but these are the 4 that are part of the game show. The first one is Guess the Movie. I saw this on another podcast, and I completely forgot the name of the podcast, or I would totally give due credit, but it's just one of those fun movie games that everybody plays around the internet. Essentially, you are playing for points, and essentially you have to guess which movie is within one of those squares, as you guys see. On the left, you'll have different names of actors, directors. It might be a year, it might be a genre. And then when they cross-sect, you'll guess, and if you get it correct, you'll get the points, and the first person to have the maximum points will win. And so there's a certain number of points you can have before there's not enough to catch up. So it's basically a cap. And then we reveal all the movies at the end, so that's pretty fun. Keys, or Mickey, was one of the first contestants. He'll be this weekend re-recording with me in order to defend his title. And Mr. Marvelite is one of the challengers, if you will. And then we also have Janine Demeen is actually going to be the other challenger up against the two of you. So
Tough competition.
you guys got some stiff competition. So we'll see. She has history on movie game shows, so just be aware of that. The other games are 20 questions movies, where the contestants will actually go against each other and challenge each other. There's also the still, guess the movie still, which is pretty fun. Whoever guesses it first gets it, and it's, I have 11 stills or whatever would be a nice hard to match number, so there's never somebody gonna not outdo the other. But that's fun. I enjoyed that one this weekend. There is an episode both on the Nerd Initiative and the Real Study if you guys want to watch the first episode. But this next episode I think is going to be even more exciting.
Yeah.
The final game I do want to mention is something I never get to explain, is the movie game. The movie game. It's basically 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or if you are a friend or a fan of all the movie things, degrees of Deacons, if you will. It's essentially pairing together actors in movies until you stump each other, and it's for points. Whoever stumps the person gets a point. And so you're basically going back and forth.
Yes.
Where you say, hey, this is the one that's classic. Tom Cruise Top Gun is a very classic film. And then somebody would have to pick an actor from that film and move on until you get to a movie that's almost impossible to pick, because there's either one actor or quote nobodies, and I don't mean that in any negative way towards actors, but people that are unknown in the film, if you will.
See, I remember we did this once when I was a regular on the Real Study, and I fumbled so much with that. Like I think as everyone was going, I was like wanting to cheat and pull up IMDb. So this will be interesting. This will be very
Yeah.
interesting.
In a modern world, I have to hope the guests are on your honor because I can't
Yep.
I can't sit there and see what you're looking at below the screen. So,
Well,
if this were in a studio, that'd be
yeah,
different.
I'm saying it out loud now that I was tempted because I'm gonna make sure that I don't do that. But yeah, so that game might be short lived. I might be out very quickly. I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I'm trying to put a variety of games in it so that there's some that is sheer, like, if you don't know movies, you may just fumble, or you don't know a lot of movies, I should say, because some of these you have to, know way too many. But the Guess the Movie, I think, as long as you have a pretty decent history of film, at least with films themselves, maybe actors and directors, it can be tricky. But the genres do that. If you know your genre, you might be like, oh, sci-fi. I know sci-fi really well. So
yeah. Well, this hopefully I don't disappoint. We'll do our best. But yeah, absolutely. I remember you had me preview the first episode, and I still watched it after it was out. What's so funny is like there are certain things where like you struggle and you're like completely oblivious. And there was the one where it was like Keanu Reeves 2005.
Yes.
I'm sitting there going Constantine.
We had a hard time.
And everybody's like coming up with everything else. I'm like, Constantine. I heard Lake House. I'm like, Constantine.
That and the Jeff Daniels stuff was pretty tough because he's in everything. And I was like, I don't know, man.
And he does movies of a wide variety
Yes.
of genres. He's not shoehorned into one specific
It
genre.
was well edited because I'm telling you, there was a lot more space in there where like just a whole lot of uhs. I don't know.
So
gotta
it was
think
like
about it for a
I think it
second.
was like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
The show, like Marvelite was mentioning, is it kind of like, hey Mickey, I have some movie games. You want to play some movie games? We'll record it. Let's see what comes of this. And it actually turned out to, like, when I was done, I was like, oh, there's something there. And so it kind of came from that, and it's been slapdash put together, but now I've locked it down, as you can see, and it will be good. Of course, as good as the contestants, I should say. I can host all day long, but if they don't bring it, then it'll be slim pickings. So, I appreciate that. I'm trying. Apparently I'm doing it more than once. I don't think I even asked the wife if she was okay with this. I'll have to ask her after the show.
Well, that's the other cool thing. So you already said this. This is going to be airing. This will be available on not only Nerd Initiative's YouTube channel. This is also available on Real Study, and for anybody who's interested, like if you are interested in being a part of the Nerd Initiative community, one of the things I always want to tell you is be positive, be productive, do quality. We don't look at numbers. We look at quality. We have quality people that are involved. And kind of it helps if you know what you want to do, but let's face it, all of us have that thing. I like Marvel, but like I surprise Snidbits and I love Terminator. And so like I'm on the Real Study the last week and then this coming week. And so it's okay to love different things, but if you want to be involved in this kind of stuff, be sure to reach out to us. You can go to that contact form, just like we've got it up here. Tell us what you're interested in. It does not guarantee that we will respond because let's face it, we're busy and I'm also scatterbrained. The way this whole thing works, I may be the founder and the co-CEO. This works because of amazing people like Mickey, like Snidbits, like Ken, over comics,
Pooja.
and Sean and Pooja, that are just driven to want to see, and Rich as well. If you don't realize this, my hands are right here. Rich is running this. He's making me look better than I could myself, as long as I don't come up on the screen.
Yes.
And so it's very important for everyone to realize, like, it's all about that, and us having the content on it's because we're collaborating. Real Study is not Nerd Initiative, but at the same time, we're family, and that's how it's going to be. And so there are people that contribute, and we it's our show, like Fandoms or like Turn a Page, And then there are things like this that we want to be able to do to help boost. Because if you're not following, if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this on the podcast and you have not followed The Real Study, I'm telling you right now, I've already made sure that The Real Study's YouTube channel is linked inside of the description. You should go there and you should you should subscribe, you should like, you should watch the episodes. Preferably not the ones that I'm in it, because I ramble. But absolutely, they are about to, in the next couple months, they will be at 250 movies that they've reviewed. And
Wow.
I mean, I remember when it first started, it was it wasn't The Real Study, and then it became The Real Triad, and then it became The Real Study. And just seeing how everything has grown, The Real Study helped make me have a mind to do something, because I didn't want to get on YouTube. I didn't want to get on Twitch and do a show because I didn't think I could. And it's because of MrSnidbits that I'm willing and able to do those things. And so you build off of the people that you're around. So if you want to be around good people, I'm just saying.
Means a lot.
I just want to say, like,
love hearing you say that.
what a diverse group of people with some great opinions and very sharp, and they know what they're talking about, man. Like, I feel intimidated every time I go up there because I'm like, these guys are the real deal. But I'm gonna sit here and at least gush over it.
Well, it's a mix. It's a mix of people that have been in the industry, are aspiring to be in the industry, or admire the industry. One of the three, and it, I would put you under the second two categories, Mickey. You're trying to get in and you love it. Like, so but yeah, having somebody like Brian on the panel is not a bad thing. He's got a lot of experience behind the camera, so he knows.
Absolutely.
Or Tyler, for that matter. And Ray brings it. And of course, I cannot not mention Black Girl Marvel, because she has been the rock of The Real Study. She has been there since the day one of the original, whatever you wanted to call it, podcast, if you will. So, yeah,
absolutely. And I will tell you, this last episode where we started going over the Terminator, I had never been live with Ray before, and I was intimidated by how she broke down. Like, I was sitting there going like, okay, I didn't think of the Terminator like this. Like, okay. And I think that's the great part about it. It's even like with Pooja's picks. Pooja breaks things down and gives a rundown where I might have gone to the summary of the movie and kind of like modify that. You can tell that she's in the point where she is building the way she describes things and the style that she's it's intimidating to see the people that you're around, but at the same time,
she's a writer. Like, she knows how to write those little scripts before she does each film. Like, I can tell she's pieced it together. She practices it. Like, very, very well done. Very well, good, very great craft.
And she's also agreed, and I'm gonna put this out there now, because if she doesn't do it, it's on me, because it's my responsibility. I've told her, if I asked her and she agreed, if I give her enough time before a Cinema Smackdown episode, she will do a video breakdown of each of the films to kind of get everyone ready. Because like movies we're talking about tonight, some people probably have never watched them. And so hopefully it will get people wanting to watch these movies, especially since, we might talk a little bit of crap about each other's movies, but honestly, when Mickey brought up his, I was like, wow, that's a good pick. And then when I said mine, it was almost the exact same thing with Mickey, because they're great films. And it was just like last week. Now, Stimmus, I know you have a different opinion about this, but like both of us struggled over Jurassic Park versus Ready Player One. I know you feel strongly about Ready Player One, and I understand that. But we can say this: Ready Player One is better than the Aragon adaptation.
So, since I've never read Aragon or seen Aragon, I cannot weigh in.
At least, but let's just say it this way: it would be like them saying that the people who work at AI are they're humans, and then all of a sudden they make them all chimpanzees. It was like that. It's like that thing. Like, they completely changed the entire existence of certain beings in the story. So I'm just gonna go there for that. But
no, yeah. At least in Ready Player One, the names were the same, and they had the same like basic one-dimensional role. I'll digress. I can go on forever about that.
Oof,
Besides, you guys have a
holding
battle you have
something
to
in
get
there.
to,
Okay.
so I'm
Yes.
definitely want to let you guys do that.
Well, thank you for that. I know you were on borrowed time, so go ahead and take over for your wife. We really appreciate it. We look forward to more with Real Arena. I know you've got some more things that are going on, specifically a documentary that's in the process. So
Yeah,
there are
working hard
great
on
things
that. That's
coming, and
that's the long-term project. So keep an eye on the long term for that.
yep. And if you want to look up even Mr. Snidbits' significant other, Bats McSkelly, on the website, has a great rundown of horror that she did a while back. And I know there's something else in the works, so we're going to be looking forward to hearing about that later on. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having
Yes.
me, and you guys have
All
a
right.
great battle. I look forward to it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, and so yeah, we've got a lot to talk. So let's go ahead and do it right now. First of all, I'm going to break down. We've been doing some nerd news blips. If you do not follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, even the shorts here on YouTube, we have been trying to do some breakdowns of news. Nerd Initiative has never been a news site. We have never tried to be breaking news, but as we progress and as we find that we're more ambitious, it's starting to happen. And so there have been some things, and I want to bring up one that you talked about just recently, the Minecraft movie that's in process.
Oh yeah.
A star-studded cast. By the way, my kid had me watch it with your rundown a couple times. He definitely enjoyed that. And the first time we watched it, he didn't see the eyes at the end, so I had to stop and make him watch the whole thing
Oh,
again.
yeah?
He goes, ooh. So, but he's always been a fan of yours. But it's definitely exciting. I wonder if we can project a little bit. Do you think it's going to
Yeah.
be in the Minecraft world that all of these characters are being? Do you think it could be possibly more like Jumanji? Or I mean, what do you think?
Oh man. Like, I guess what I want it to be is more like, Super Mario Brothers. It's about the game, itself, and not the Jumanji style. But I kind of have a feeling that's where they're gonna go, right? It's kind of like a real world live
Is it a
action
live
and then
action, or
an
is
animated.
it?
I don't know, but I'm saying I kind of feel like that's where we're gonna go. We're like, okay, we're out here, and then we're in the game itself, like you said. I think that's where it's gonna go. I would like it to just be maybe a Minecraft story, right? Because my sons read a lot of those like graphic novels and books, and they have some really great stories, like just based in the Minecraft world. So I kind of hope they do that. I think that would be better.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, because I know, like, Netflix not too long ago did like a choose your own adventure
Yeah,
the
that was
Minecraft
great.
series. So like I could see that. I could definitely see Jason Momoa playing a character like like let's say a computer, generated character that, is the confident one. Something tells me Jack Black is still going to be the villain. I think after Bowser, I could immediately see him being like, because I know I don't know if you've played it with your kids or not, but like Minecraft Dungeons. So you've got like
Yeah.
these kind of like these temple characters that are like they're
Mhm.
the illagers. They have like a head or a lead.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like these kings of the illagers or whatnot. So I could definitely see him being that, like a very small creature with a very or a small being with like a really big like demeanor. Like I could definitely see that. Um
I could see him even being like, closer to a main character protagonist. And I kind of feel like Jermaine Clement, or Clement, however you pronounce his name. I feel like he's gonna, in my opinion, would probably be the villain of the film. But
yeah.
who knows?
But yeah, we've been doing a lot of Nerd Initiative news. You'll see different members going down. We're also going to be doing more video rundowns of some of the articles that we've done. If you haven't looked, we're also kind of leaning into other pieces. Just like Metalcore Nerd Sean did a article on who he thinks owns Avengers Tower now through the MCU, because we have not ever really seen much about it. There's been some hints to it. There's some possibilities. And so great article. I think there is the possibility down the road for those to become, videos as well, because we want you to be teased, just like what Pooja did. We want you to be teased to go and look at those articles. And we're almost to 1,000 articles on the website. which is fantastic.
That's
Mind you,
crazy.
a large amount of them is our editor-in-chief of comics, Ken Maney. And if you don't know Ken M,
He's a
he's a
machine, man.
powerhouse with getting our comic books. He's the one who is keeping all of us in control, or all the whole bullpen team in control when it comes to embargoes and what's coming out and what's going on and everything else. And you can check them out every Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. And of course, there's also the Turn a Page show that happens every Tuesday night. And it's impressive. And it was funny because I work at night, so I get to see bits and pieces of these shows. And I got in right at the time where Hopsgeek News, Matt was talking about wearing his Green Bay Packers shirt or his sweatshirt. And then they were talking about like Nerd Initiative Sports. That could very possibly be a thing down the road very soon. And I was doing a TikTok video and I realized someone had commented about their nerd origin was when they come into football and sports, whether it's hockey, baseball, all of it. It is a nerddom. I may not necessarily understand the tennis aspect from sports, but that's okay. I don't think many people do. And so we may see sports. If you say, well, that's not a nerdy thing, you have to know the stats of players.
Man, I know some sports geeks.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's hardcore,
Yes.
man. And it's all about the numbers. Like they can spout off stats to you and names. And to me, that's pretty
I
nerdy,
almost
man.
feel like if you look at people who talk about on social media power scaling, it's oftentimes people that have done the comic, the trading cards, of the
Yes.
players, because that's a thing. Like, how many home runs, how many strikes, like all of those things, like showing it's showing a skill set or a power set. So yeah, absolutely. It's a nerdy thing. And if you even go like looking at what I have behind me, looking what's behind you, you go to my uncle's house. He's a huge Indianapolis Colts fan. Been a fan even when they were the Baltimore Colts.
Oh, wow.
And so like he's gone up to Indiana and he's gotten autographs and stuff at their conventions. And so you go and you look at this stuff and it's tons of just football memorabilia, everything else. It is absolutely 100% this. It's just a different grain of it. So it's just that this is becoming more mainstream than it was before. And to that, I think Big Bang Theory, but that's a different story. But yeah, so lots of nerd news that's working on it. If you also haven't checked out, we've got other shows that are going on or that have been going, which specifically is Wrestling Night Live, with our producer right now, who's in the background, the man in the chair, Rich. Rich has been doing a fantastic job, just breaking things down. It's making me want to get into wrestling, and we just had a conversation before the show about. I watched one match for AEW, and I was struggling, but I was told there are better things out there, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. And
I feel like with wrestling, it reminds me of anime. There's a different type of kind of wrestling subgenre for everybody. You've got like the big heavyweight storytelling matches, and then you've got the fun, like real fast, quick paced, high flying matches. You got the technical matches. There's all kind of little things there for every kind of fan, in my opinion.
Exactly. Well, it was funny because so when I watched it, I was like, okay, it was Dustin Rhodes versus I think it was Christian Cage, and I'm like, okay, it's interesting. It was. I don't want to say anything negatively about the match. It just didn't end the way I expected it to.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was my son asked, like, are they really hitting each other? And I'm like, well, let me explain a little bit about professional wrestling. And so I'm like, it's kind of like it's like 30%. Well, I would say it's more like 80% real because it does take a lot of physicality to be able to do the things. But it's that 20 to 30% of scripted, explaining. And so I was trying to like explain how that works. And I said, it's very much about the story. It's very much about who's the heel. I explained what a heel was to him. And when Christian Cage, what was it when they first distracted the referee in the match? I looked at my son. I go, he's the heel. And he goes, like a foot? And I'm like, no, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he wins the championship, he's the bad guy because he has the guys who are interfering with the match. He's using underhanded tactics. He's the heel. The other guy is the hero. And then when the match was over, he goes, how does the bad guy win? I go, because in life, sometimes bad guys win.
Yep.
And there's always going to be, there's always an underdog. And at some point, somebody is going to get their comeuppance. And that's just how it works. And so it got him interested. He's like, can we watch something? Can we watch some more? And I'm like, we're going to look at some other wrestling matches and stuff like that. We're going to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
Cause I was a WCW kid. Like my uncle died in 96. He was kind of like my dad. And so my cousins were around me more, and it was right after Bash at the Beach for WCW. And I got heavily into the NWO, like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. I think it was Styx. And then Hollywood Hulk Hogan got into the mix and stuff, which honestly, as a kid, well, I would say
the world, man.
I wasn't necessarily a kid, I was a teen. Like Hulk Hogan being the hero, like I had all the Hulk Hogan toys in the 80s, and then seeing him become the bad guy for some reason was really alluring. And then of course you had the Four Horsemen, and it was really like a golden age, even like it was like a second golden age when you think about the 80s and how amazing the 80s was for wrestling. Yes. And then the 90s was kind of like a resurgence when you got into like the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And it was very short lived though, because it was like between 94, 95, and then like right into 1999.
Yeah.
And I fell off of it from that, but now I'm kind of wanting to see about getting into it. My cousins have always been that way.
I've been watching it since I don't even think I could walk yet, because my parents and grandparents were really into it. We were watching WCW. We were watching Sting, Ric Flair, all those guys, Terry Funk, like just the old school stuff. So I grew up with that. But when I got to like a certain age, I think it was when Hulk Hogan got big, I was enamored with the WWF. Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Andre the Giant. Like those guys were like,
Jake the Snake.
They were like, yes, Jake the
Sergeant
Snake, Macho Man, Sergeant. They were bigger personalities, like superheroes, like I was into. So I gravitated more towards that. But I was always like with the roots of like the fundamental regional WCW wrestling. So
yeah. I remember I've only ever gone to one actual wrestling match. It was in I was in ninth grade. I'm sorry if this ages me. It was ninth grade. That was like, I want to say like 1997, 1998. It was right when Bill Goldberg started getting into wrestling.
Okay.
I guess went from the NFL, and he was doing wrestling. And when they started the Goldberg chant through WCW, that started in DC. That started the match I went to. And so, it was exciting. It was different. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, I see you start getting talking too much. You're a wrestling fan, buy sure, absolutely check out Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night. On top of that, last night they had their Brody Awards. So be sure to check that out. That's on the YouTube channel now. You can go back and watch that. And then also not this week, but the next week, we have got the WrestleMania pre-show and post-show. So be sure to catch that live with I believe with Ken and Rich. And Rich has got a great mind for this stuff, and looking forward to seeing what we can do as we progress. And if you're a creator and you want to talk wrestling, I'm sorry, what did I say? WrestleMania? No, I'm sorry, yes, Royal Rumble.
Yeah, starts the road to WrestleMania.
Road to WrestleMania. Okay. I always forget the time frame. Like, see, again, I could tell you what the WCW pay-per-view was going to be like.
January is always Royal Rumble, and it leads. There's a few more in between, but it always leads to, I think, early April, late March is WrestleMania usually.
Yep. So yes, so absolutely, be sure to check them out. We've got lots of great articles that are coming out. We're in the process. We have a team with I'm just gonna name a couple people: Pop Culture Rabbi, the Marvelous Johnny, and a number of other people that are looking at making a Star Wars show to talk about Star Wars, and kind of they want to dive not only into the shows and the movies, but they also kind of want to go into the lore of the books and the comics. So it's definitely going to be an interesting show. They've been wanting to do this for a while. We were putting kind of like new stuff on a hold for a little bit, but now with the new year, we're kind of hitting the ground running. So absolutely, be sure to check out that. And Mickey, is there anything you want to talk about?
So like I am kind of slowly paving some foundations for our like collecting and toys content with Play for Keeps.
Mhm.
Kind of trying to build that from the ground up. I know, we want to cover new releases and maybe get to a point where we can do reviews on certain things, action figures, Legos, whatever. Like I wanted to stress that there's more to collecting than just toys. There's all kinds of things. There's backpacks, there's sneakers, there's hats, there's
Mhm.
t-shirts, all kinds of clothing. There's even like, there's books, magazines. I don't know. It's endless. The possibilities are endless. And I want people to share those things, right? Because I find those interesting when people have a fascination with something that maybe other people are like, I don't get it. But like, that's fascinating to me. Like, well, what is it? Like, I want to get it. I want to understand because, it's going to end up linking back to stuff I collect too, obviously, because there's just a love there and maybe like memories of, childhood memories or something, a loved one. You don't know what it is. But I want to explore all that, and hopefully we'll get to a point where I'm pumping out, maybe some interviews and articles on collectors. So anyone out there who's like big into something, collecting something, if you guys want to reach out to Nerd Initiative and talk to us, I want to talk to you and like kind of get to know you and understand what it is you collect and why. So I think that's about where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember growing up, like you always think about like coin collecting, stamp collecting, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I have a nephew who is right now into collecting like different types of soda bottles. And so, it could be different things. And it's funny because I remember I had a professor that worked for the Coca-Cola company.
Mhm.
And so behind him, whenever I went into his office, it was Coca-Cola cans from all over the
Oh,
world.
wow. See, that's
And
cool.
it's really, I mean, it really is like it might be, collecting art from different artists. I mean, there are so many different things. It would be nice. And I'm just kind of putting this out there because you might as well manifest
Right.
for us to go to people's homes and go through their collections and interview them.
I would like
Like, I mean, come
that.
on. Like, one of the things Michael and I wanted to do when we first started talking about our initiative was at some point for us to go and see some of these crazy comic collections.
Yeah.
Like have somebody talk
Yes.
about,
Kinda
the tailor for Stan Lee and
yeah.
his collection and like all, how he got it. And, people that have found different things. And I think that's why we've, built friendships with people like Golden and with Shortbox. And
Yeah.
it's because you see, the potential out there. And it's amazing to see that, and my wife is in the chat and I'm going to go ahead and mention this. So this comes something
Uh,
different. We're into wrestling, we're into comics, we're into movies, toys. If you haven't figured it out, I want to see more anime, but I also want to see more book talk,
als
with Nerd Initiative.
yeah. Also, like, I just it just came up, but, like, vinyl records, like, music, cassettes, anything, 8 tracks, like, I don't know what it is. It's just yeah, things that represent a point in time that maybe bring back something special. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it was like even my mom. It's funny because for a number of years she collected miniature bears,
Yeah.
and what's great about those is that it's the bears that are kind of like cosplaying bears in a sense. Like there's the entire Peter Pan set,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, or like the Wizard of Oz. It doesn't matter what it is. It's neat to see it, and sometimes it could spurn. I don't even know if I want to use that word. It could encourage other people to jump into something as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
it's
can
the
be
most popcorn ones. We want to keep you with movies, but
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
we want to do.
It can be
Um,
intimidating with collecting because the way, the economy is kinda right now, a lot of things are expensive. I mean, you gotta eat first, you gotta have a house and be clothed and gas and all that stuff, but I feel like there's a niche somewhere for everybody if that's your hobby in collecting. Thrift stores and yard sales, that stuff's fun to me, like, I love the idea you were talking about, seeing people's collection like American Pickers, but you're not trying to buy it. You just want to talk about it. Like, I love it when they
Yeah.
just talk about it, not when they
And
haggle.
get tips of how they collect their stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
absolutely. No, it's kind of great. Like we've been blessed. Like I look back at the stuff that I've got, and mind you, it was before everything got more difficult to buy. But
Yeah.
it's like I have, like, even for like people that want to collect like props and things like that. Like, I have this here. I 3D printed this.
Yeah.
It's like you can make your collection. You can be a creator as well for the things that you like to create. So we're definitely gonna be doing a lot more of that, talking about those things. You also want to kind of throw this out there because this applies for you as well. But if you have watched our stuff, you're watching this live, you're watching this on a recording, or you're listening on the podcast. First of all, thank you for that. Thank you for watching us, for reading our content, for doing all these things. We appreciate the heck out of you because you have made this possible, and the amount of recognition that we get for things that we do. Just as last year, we were at AwesomeCon and we did a panel about the MCU phases 4 and 5, and the person in the that was kind of facilitating the room was a fan of Nerd Initiative and actually asked to be assigned to that room because we were going to be there, and that was incredibly humbling. But if you'd like to meet us, you'd like to run into us in places, listen, the Nerd Initiative team are going to be at conventions this year. I can tell you right now,
all over the place.
We've got some that are going to be at GalaxyCon Richmond in March 15th through 17th. We've got a group they're doing their own panel at MegaCon.
MegaCon,
and
yes.
So if you're going to be at MegaCon, check out Maddie T or the Hopsgeek News. Check out what they're doing. I imagine a lot of us are going to try to be at New York Comic Con again this year. That was like a good place for presents.
C2E2 is coming up pretty soon.
That's the easy place to catch out to catch our comics editor in chief, Ken M. Also, Rich was there this last year. Mickey was there. I was there. Michael was there. Johnny was there. So it's a lot. And then of course, we're going to be at C2E2 this year. I know for sure. Derek, Mickey, and I are going to be there. We're trying to figure out how to survive staying in Chicago. And then on top of that, a number of us will be at AwesomeCon in DC. And the great part about that is I can tell you right now, Nerd Initiative has been proved again for a panel at AwesomeCon for expounding the MCU.
Nice.
So we're going to be talking about the threats to come and what the possible, I hate to say this, the possible end of the MCU could be.
Might have to make a little trip for that one.
Yeah. So it's definitely exciting. We had a fantastic panel at New York Comic Con this last year with John Caglione.
So much
John's
fun.
been doing some amazing stuff. If you don't follow him, he's the Makeup Artist Workshop on TikTok and on Instagram. We'll be sure to add a link in the description later. We don't have one for right now. Of course, he's
spoiler.
What's that?
Dropped a cool little spoiler the other day.
Yes, he did.
I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, it was awesome. And if you need to go and watch his video, I will tell you that. But there was a hint at him making the prosthetics for the Terrifier 3, which was awesome. But he's also Oscar winner for Dick Tracy. He was the makeup artist for Heath Ledger for The Dark Knight. He helped make that. And if you want to know, like, especially what lipstick was used for Heath Ledger, he'll even tell you that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a Maybelline product. He gives you even the numbers. So if you want to cosplay, you can cosplay accurately.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
He'll do that. But it was funny because at the beginning of the year, I texted him and I just said, "Hey, John, I want to say thank you so much for making New York Comic Con something special, for being a part of this. You honored us." And he goes, "Why are you talking in the past tense?" He's like, "I'm ready to work with y'all again." So I don't know what it's going to be, but
let's go.
It's coming at some point. I don't know. We're going to have to figure something out. Mind you, he's busy with movies,
the best kind of busy.
But we'll work it out and we'll figure it out. And if you are an aspiring makeup artist, be sure to check him out because it's definitely a place for you to get more information on how to kind of get into the industry and the tips and tricks of the trade for him.
And I watched him talk with people at New York Comic Con, and I'm telling you, that's the guy you want to learn from. Like, he's he'll be your friend. Like, he's your friend. You know what I mean? Like, he'll talk to you genuinely and be honest with you, and
Yep.
tell you all kinds of awesome stories and tips and tricks. It's crazy.
And that was the thing for him. Like, I think it was because of how he started. He was a kid into makeup art, and he sent a letter to the fan club for
Dick Smith, right?
no, it
No,
wasn't
no.
even his. It wasn't even his fan club. It was for the girl. Well, I'm trying to think of her name. She was the girl in The Exorcist. Blair.
Blair.
Blair. I can't remember her first name.
Linda Blair? Is that it?
Was it
No, that's not it. Is it?
Linda Blair? No, was it Linda Blair?
That's somebody else, I think.
Well, anyway, it was oh, you go ahead and show it, Rich. This is John's work.
Yes.
But he sent a letter into the fan club for the actress who was, possessed in The Exorcist, because Dick Smith was his hero and he's the one that did the work for her. And he wrote it to him, care of their fan club. And he ends up getting a phone call while he's outside playing football, playing outside. And his mom calls him in and he talks to him. And Dick Smith ends up being his mentor.
That's crazy.
Willing to call him and talk to him.
Crazy.
And so he has that same mentality of wanting to be an encouragement and help to other people. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, amazing work he did there. But yeah, absolutely. I look forward to see what's possible, but,
Yes.
that's a little bit about it. I think we've talked long enough about that.
Okay.
You ready to talk some smack to each other?
Heck yeah, man.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's get into the Cinema Smackdown. Rich is doing his best to deal with my antics. So let's go ahead and first just talk about last episode. We had Jurassic Park versus Ready Player One. And of course, I was sure that Jurassic Park was going to win.
I was too.
Unfortunately, winning by 72% to the 28%. Ready Player One beat out Jurassic Park. And Will has some words that he would like to share with us about that. So let's go ahead and play Will's video.
Hey, Fandoms crew, I was really excited to be able to be there tonight to see the results of the Cinema Smackdown. Unfortunately, I could not because my daughter has a dance competition. And honestly speaking, regardless of the results, I'm calling this in order to be a concession speech because regardless of the results, because I stacked the deck a little, okay? It obviously wasn't fair, and I promise if I'm involved, I won't do this again, but, I have multiple audiences I can ask to vote, so there is no way that Ready Player One is actually better than Jurassic Park in the way of a bad book adaptation, but being a really great movie. So congratulations, Tony, because honestly speaking, if I had not cheated, no other way to put it, this would have been a hands down smackdown. So congratulations truly to Jurassic Park for being the winner. Congratulations, Tony. Again, sorry I can't be there tonight, but I hope everyone has a great Fandoms episode without me, and of course, has a great weekend.
Well, I appreciate him being honest and admitting that.
Yes.
And let's face it, part of this competition has to be you campaign to win.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to still say he won. He still won that because he did
won
the game. I was the one that made the promos. So if he just put that QR code and he put it out there, that's on me. That's not on him. I could have kept it quiet because at one point it was like, I think we had 11 votes and I was winning by a landslide. And then all of a sudden I went back another day and it was like, it went from 11 to like 28. And I'm like, crap. And so I posted an article, or not posted an article, posted a post on social media trying to get people to vote. And he just took that and all of a sudden went from that to like 68. And I'm like, forget this. Just forget it. And of course I did a TikTok video about it. And I'm telling Will to stay in his own lane and stop talking in my comments. Friends like, well, I really like Ready Player One, but I'm like,
well, what can you do?
Yeah, but yeah, but both good films, unless MrSnidbits is involved. But we're tonight's Cinema Smackdown. We're going to be talking about different category of movies. Just like I said before, last week's was bad book adaptations that were great movies. This week we're going for just a genre, and it's not because I responded to a video of someone who was talking about noir films earlier that I was thinking about this in my mind. It absolutely was. But we're talking about tech noir, tech noir films, and there's a lot of honorable mentions. Things like The Matrix, the Terminator saga,
Johnny Mnemonic,
which was brought up by Snidbits, asking why in the world that wasn't being brought up.
Hey, look.
And then of course we saw in the Pooja's picks that there's
the kitchen. Yeah.
Yep.
That looked very,
now
very
it doesn't just mean this dystopian.
There's a little more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not dystopian. It means future. It could be dystopian, but when you think of noir, you think of like detective. It's kind of like that old style. It doesn't necessarily have to be in black and white, with the exception of what Fox thought of when they were doing the Wolverine movie, because they called their noir version the black and white version.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tech noir, it's definitely got that narrative or that gritty. It always seems to involve like some type of detective type thing.
Yeah.
Like the Batman would be considered a noir film.
Absolutely.
If you go to look at the season 2 of What If, which is what kind of caused this to be in my head, that first episode with Nebula is definitely a noir style storytelling. And so, Mickey, I'm going to let you go and start off. What are you proposing as the better tech noir movie? Go for it.
The film that I bring to the table is totally not a Matrix ripoff, but it is Equilibrium, starring Christian Bale, Taye Diggs, quite a few other people that you would be surprised is in the movie. You're like, hey, I know that guy. I know that gal. But Equilibrium, it takes place after a Third World War, and a totalitarian regime kind of takes over and says, we don't want any more war. We don't want this to happen again. What do? We take emotion out of the equation. And we do that by removing art, music, literature, any kind of thing that would elicit a emotional response, kind of like Fahrenheit 451, some borrowed ideas there. And they also add in this dose of prosium is the drug they call it, I believe, where it kind of levels them out and just dulls their sensibilities, right? They're just kind of robotic almost. People can't wear bright colors. Everyone in the film is wearing brown and navy blue and black and gray. And this regime has clerics, grammaton clerics, which Christian Bale plays one of those, that are kind of like these super soldiers that lead their forces into these enforcement zones where they try to dig out these underground resistance cells, and they basically burn any art they find, destroy any art they find, and usually eliminate any resistance. They may take some in for questioning to find bigger fish, but for the most part, that's how that goes. And as the film goes on, we kind of realize, Christian Bale's cleric kind of starts to realize, maybe this is not a good way to live. It's cool to see bright colors, right? It's cool to listen to music. Art is beautiful. Literature is awesome. And he starts to also realize that maybe the people up top aren't really living by those same standards, and they're kind of treating us all like, with hypocrisy, basically.
Yeah. Now, as for me, my choice for tech noir is a little bit of a different vein. It's definitely a futuristic film. It's also a comic book movie in the essence, because it is reference, is adaptation from an entire story in the comics. But mine is 2012's Dread. This was with
Carl Urban?
Carl Urban?
Yeah.
Which, if you know him, he was Bones in the remake for the Star Trek movies. He's also well known right now for the Boys,
Yeah.
as being the one who's trying to kill the superheroes.
Mhm.
He's a fantastic creator. He was also Scourge in Thor Ragnarok.
He was.
But this follows the basically the law enforcement officer Dredd, as he takes a kind of a protege, but it's him testing this new potential judge who has a special ability to be able to sense what's going on, with people around. She's an empath. Basically, if you don't know anything about Dread, it's very much a dystopian future. There are these giant cities called mega cities that are where everybody exists because of the rest of the world is desolate and it's not livable. And so within these places are these giant towers, and we actually follow them through a story at one specific tower called Peace Trees. And there has been a gang killing, and these people were skinned and thrown off of a balcony. And they just randomly choose this building to investigate. And in doing so, they take a person into custody to do interrogations. It just happens to be a member of the Mama clan. And they're afraid that this person is going to, and there's Mama. They're afraid that they're going to spill everything because the entire production of a drug called slow-mo is inside of Peach Trees. And so they initiate a lockdown. And so it's these two judges, basically versus the entire population of peach trees, because Mama puts out a thing that if anybody tries to help them, they'll be executed, and whoever is able to kill the judges end up being able to, I guess they'll be basically offered a large, substantial, crazy amount of money. And so it's definitely a great story about what people would do in desperation. You've got the great narrative that with noir, where it starts off with Dredd kind of talking through and explaining the entire city, even though you really don't get to see a whole lot of it, because you're mostly in peach trees. The city itself is very much of a character in the story. You get corruption with the other Dreads. You get this concept of what happens when you have people that are isolated and that are struggling and are out of luck, what they will do to be able to take care of those that they love. There's even little bits and pieces. There's a very fast moment where they go into an apartment, and the woman has a baby, and she just doesn't want them in there because she's afraid of what could happen to her, and she would rather help them real quick because that way her husband or her boyfriend who is out there looking for them won't find them. And it's just interesting to see. And the protege for Dredd, you can tell he doesn't like the fact that she's with him, but the more she's in there, the more she comes into her own, the more he puts faith in her. And even though she makes some decisions that would have automatically failed her in his test, it actually proved to that the fact that she was able to continue on even though she failed, because she was ready to see this through. It was definitely a great character development. The villains are especially evil, but then you have those people that are put in those situations where you have to see where compassion is and everything. I absolutely love this film. And one of the great part about it is it is being in 2012. It was right around the whole 3D, the 3D push, to which I'm sad that 3D in the home is not a big thing anymore. This movie is hands down probably one of the best 3D movies to watch.
Oh, really?
Mickey, next time you're at my house, we're watching this film.
Okay.
I just want to tell you, you've seen this movie. Think about the moment when they because slow-mo basically causes everything to go in slow motion in the brain. So when they get thrown off the balcony and there's that slow fall with all the particles, all of that is 3D. The depth is just amazing. And then when you see the scene with the miniguns and everything else, like it puts you, and that's the thing I think that works really well with 3D films. If it's not something like Journey to the Center of the Earth, where a tape measure comes out of the screen and into your face, that's one thing. It's too gimmicky.
Yeah.
But when you can see depth,
yes,
and really feel like you're in that space, that's when they've done it well, and that's when
Right.
they've done it right. And this movie absolutely did that.
Okay. I want to add to Equilibrium.
Okay.
We've got the hard-boiled cop, so to speak, in Christian Bale, and we've got a sort of a femme fatale, and I can't remember her name right now, but who's kind of like caught with the they call them sense offenders when they're feeling things.
Wow. I forgot about that.
And so she's like she's got a little stash of music and art and stuff, so they take her in for questioning, and like he slowly kind of falls in love with her and realizes that she was in love with his former partner, who, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's Sean Bean, so you kind of know what happens to him, right? It's Sean Bean in a movie in the 90s.
Pretty much anything that happens to Sean Bean in any of his movies.
It's over. So, yeah. So, and he kind of falls in love with her as he learns more of this stuff from her. It kind of cracks his shell. He's trying to solve this mystery of, what are we really doing here? Am I doing the right thing? I don't really think I am. And he eventually joins the resistance. And look, let me tell you something. The action scenes in this movie are so phenomenal, except for a few bad CGI things here and there. Mr. Snidbits mentioned it in the comments, gun kata. They have their own form of martial arts based around guns, which is wild, to say the least.
Isn't that like an art form, which was kind of like illegal at the time, though? Like,
I think so. And I think this was something that was kind of popularized earlier by John Woo, and The Matrix kind of played with it, but they actually like showed forms and angles and how you actually do it. And basically it's no matter what, you'll hit your target, but they won't hit you. And obviously these were some generic stormtroopers in all black with motorcycle helmets and black jackets, but they look pretty ominous. And of course they could never hit anybody they actually shot unless they were standing still and they were prisoners or something. But anyway, the dystopian future is there. There's this like architecture that's very, I don't know, dreary. Like you said, the city was kind of its own thing. This one isn't really like that, but I'd say there's the I forgot his name, but the father, his name is the father. He's kind of like on all the TV screens shouting out propaganda and telling everyone to take your medicine and art is bad and, follow the ways of the Tetragrammaton, I think is the name of the political regime. But yeah, it's just this, it's really good Christian Bale's really good in this movie because he slowly, as you see him slowly opening up to these pieces of art that he finds, he starts reading some things. And there's a scene where he puts a vinyl record on and listens to Beethoven for the first time and just like sobs. And I was like, man, I think I would do the same thing because it was so beautiful. I was like, dude, I would break down too if that was the first time I got to enjoy music. So there was a lot of good scenes like that where he was like overwhelmed with emotion.
I get that.
Yeah.
It was also kind of Christian. If you think about it, it was very much Christian Bale in that era. I think they kind of melded the character to be more like him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like if you think about like American Psycho, you think of this, you think of The Dark Knight, like he plays this very, very straight character. He definitely goes into the roles, but the roles all seem same. And I'm not. Listen, I like Equilibrium. I'm just gonna say this though. It's like it reminds me of like Gattaca meets The Matrix meets Wanted.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
That's pretty accurate, actually.
Because you remember the whole Gattaca is like the future, like you have to suppress certain things.
Yes.
Like if you're ill, you can't do this, and so it's like that being in hiding, and just like trying to make it through.
And the weapons, martial arts from Wanted, and all the crazy cinematography along with that.
I didn't know about this film until later on. I actually had somebody let me borrow the DVD.
Same.
And so that's when I watched it. So, but I remember Dread. I remember
Dread too. And I was blown away by it, honestly, when I watched it. I was like, man, I don't want to talk bad about this movie because of how much I love it, but whatever.
With Carl Urban never taking his mask off. And for whatever reason, that worked more it worked so let's face this is not the first time that a major motion picture was made for this character, and it was played so differently. You had
Very.
Sylvester Stallone, which a lot of people love the original Judge
I love
Dredd.
it. It's bad,
Yeah,
but I love it.
it's a fun, it's a wonky, fun '90s like sci-fi film.
Popcorn flick.
With, like all the characters, but it's like it was almost like the Batman Forever, Batman and Robin
Yeah,
version
that's a
of
pretty
this.
good comp.
Whereas
Yeah,
this film definitely jumped into
like the
being
Punisher.
gritty and
Like,
letting it be itself.
yeah.
And from what I understand, there are still talks as early as last year. I guess, well, they were talking in 2022, and I think earlier in the year about doing a sequel for this.
It's
But I
crazy
will
to
be
me.
honest.
It's
Was
crazy to
that?
me that that never happened. It's crazy to me that it never got a sequel because actually fan reaction was really good. I know it didn't make a lot of money, but yeah.
But I know there has been talk about making a remake. But I will be honest with you, some of the what can I say, um the hints as to what it would be are not good. like I think what really worked for Dread was it was very down to earth. It was
Yeah.
okay. It's very much the same society. You just add technology. Um, I remember the first scene. You got the showdown between him and the girl in the mall
Mhm.
where he's holding her hostage and he calls the guy a hot shot and the gun just shoots without him ever pulling the trigger. It just shoots
Yeah.
basically like a flare into the guy's mouth and burns him up. And then I love the fact that at the end you have the robots cleaning the bodies up, and they're like, we'll be back in business in like 30 minutes. It was just like that kind of thing.
I like that Judge Dredd movie was micro as opposed to like macro. The first movie was such a big, like almost like a world domination kind of thing. And this was just like a street story. Like we're gonna just this one little contained setting, let chaos ensue.
Exactly. I think that was the best part about it because I was like, how are you going to do all of this? Like, there's so much lore to the Dreads, like
Yeah.
just the Dread background. Like, but
Well, since
you
87,
imagine one
77?
man in Mega City, he would have to have been a myth to like the
Mhm.
majority of the city because he can't be everywhere.
Right.
And I loved when the other Dreads came in and you heard them like I've heard stories about you or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like they were like basically trying to say that he didn't live up to their expectations, and he absolutely did. Like
He
he
got him.
was
Yeah.
like he didn't care about that. Like he just had ideas of how things were going to happen,
Yeah.
and like from him setting up traps and him commandeering the payphone to put out a
Oh
call,
god,
and
yeah.
he's like into mama judgment's coming. Like it wasn't just like a catchphrase like, I'll be the judge of that,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
Sylvester Stallone, or you know it was
I
very
am the
much a
law.
thing of it was very much like and it's like I am the law, and it's just because he
Yes.
embodied it. It was who he was.
Yeah,
Carl Urban did a fantastic job in this film.
he did.
He was pretty well known. I mean, for Bones and Star Trek and stuff like that. But even still, this was right around that same time, and so like him doing this film, it could have made or break. But I think it really showed that he could play this character, and it wasn't like a I'm stronger than you muscle. It was a methodical, like doing
Yeah,
detective work,
it was
like
a
even
struggle,
breaking
like
down the reasoning with
yeah,
Anderson, like trying to figure out what was going on and making her assess the situation.
yeah.
Like I loved that you got more in depth about what the judges' codes were and what they were planning to do, and it it was one of those. I absolutely love it. In fact, it's probably gonna make me go watch it again like tonight after the kid goes to bed or something. When I should be watching Terminator for the real study on Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
but it's one of those films where you can watch it and you can watch it again and watch it again and watch it again, and you'll pick up on something different.
Right.
And I it's one of those films where you want to pay attention, but at the same time, if you have it playing in the background while you're doing something, you'll know when to look at the screen because it's your favorite part. Like it's like that kind of thing. It just
Yeah.
yeah, I wish we had more movies like that. So both great films. I'm going to say that. I think they were both awesome. I know I probably lean more toward Dread.
Mhm.
And we can't say bad things about these films because honestly, kind of the part of the goal of Cinema Smackdown is that we we plead our case for ours being the best, but really you should go watch both.
Yes.
They're both worth watching. It's both part of art. It's one of those things where you just have to have, you have to watch it to really appreciate it and to kind of see, the different things. It'd be different if you're like arguing which Dredd is better, Judge Dredd or Dredd.
Right.
But yeah. Any last thoughts?
Like last argument? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
vote for me. Okay, so Equilibrium is a ton of fun, and it's got that 80s movie action feel mixed with that like Matrix, early 2000s style, and just an amazing, also an underrated soundtrack score. Really, really good. And hey, it's early Christian Bale, man. Like you don't want to miss it. It's amazing.
I'm just making sure that everything is good to go. Allow response editing. Everything is set. Okay, so you've seen the QR code here in the video. This is going to be live. So this voting will be until the day of the next Fandoms episode, which will be February 2nd. So you can go to this, go to that link. We'll be also posting this on our social media, but you tell us which you think is better, Dredd or Equilibrium. It's up to you guys. And with that said, I think we're just past an hour, about an hour, 10 minutes. I think this is a good place to end it. So let me go ahead and just get a couple things out of the way. First of all, we are contractually obligated to keep the lights on. And so please go ahead and check out our merch store. There are things for Fandoms, turn a page as well. And there you go. You got the bottle right there. We've also got some new merch for Wrestling Night Live for the Nerd Initiative Wrestling.
Ooh, yeah.
I will tell you though, they don't let me look and see about the sizes when I'm making the stuff. And so I'm going to have to try to play, because I was so mad. There's a sweatshirt that I made that I want to get. It says Nerd Initiative on the arm, the pouch in the front.
Yeah.
And it's got the Nerd Initiative Wrestling. And then I think on the back it says we tell it right down the middle, because that's like a thing that Rich says all the time.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find this hand gesture as an image, but I couldn't find it. It's like one of those really nice sweatshirts, and it doesn't go to my size. And so I know,
man,
sometimes with wrestling you got to be a big boy. So I know some of the shirts do. There's also I think there's stickers on there. I believe I got the cups going. We're gonna be making some more stuff, and then we'll be doing some stuff for Real Arena, for Cinema Smackdown, all that stuff in the near future. Cinema Smackdown will be eventually moving to its own thing, and it will be like a 20 to 25 minute show, just going over the different things, trying to get you guys interested in watching new films and then picking the best one. Be sure to check out Nerd Initiative's Bullpen. The comic bullpen. Every Wednesday they release stuff on the website nerdinitiative.com. You can also follow the QR code. Also for Turn a Page every Tuesday, like I said before, amazing breakdowns. It's basically like the comic book club if you really want to go down it. They've got a comic book that is talked about. They focus on that. Sometimes they've been able to do an interview and talk to the actual writers or artists. And of course, I think we also have an interview coming down the road with a creator. And then on top of that, let me see here. That's right. Don't forget to subscribe here to the YouTube. Rich is amazing. He's messaging me.
That's the most important one, right?
Yes. Make sure that you subscribe and and turn on the notification bell. That helps as well.
Hit the bell.
I'll tell you, it's not like TikTok. You follow someone on TikTok, you'll never see their stuff again.
Nope.
But on here, you can turn on those notifications. Be sure to check out Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. And then, of course, with a lot of the pay-per-views, there's the pre and post shows. And again, like Rich had reminded me, not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Next week they'll be doing that, and you should be seeing that hit on our schedule. We try to schedule our shows so you know when they're hitting. But with that said, be sure to follow Mickey or Cell Phone Wallet Keys. He's on TikTok, Instagram, and
everywhere else.
You can try to follow him on Facebook. I don't know.
Sure.
If you're old, I have Facebook. but it's not me. It's my mom. She likes to look at things. And so it's funny because anybody who's friends with me on Facebook, if you start seeing weird stuff like pimple popper videos, it's because her finger slipped and it's posting to my thing. Like I got notified this morning, I had to turn it off.
Nice.
But yeah, with that said, remember to vote. Vote early, vote often. You can vote more than once this time.
Oh,
And you don't have to be part of Nerd Initiative to do that. But if you'd like to be part of Nerd Initiative, we're gonna put that contact us screen right back up again one more time. Be sure to contact us. We can't guarantee that we'll respond in a timely manner, but definitely, if you're interested in being part of our newsletter, if you're interested in joining the community, by all means, follow that
we
link.
want to talk to you.
Yes. But with that said, Mickey, thank you so much for joining.
Oh yeah, man. A
I know I
blast.
talk way too
I
much.
love it. That's great. We work well together that way.
Yeah, and I look forward to traveling to Chicago again. So
Yes.
I'm just saying,
Should be a ball.
we'll figure all that out. But yeah, this has been Nerd Initiative. Have a wonderful evening, and whatever you find brings you joy in your fandoms, whether it's toys, games, movies, comics, whatever it is, even wrestling and sports.
Mhm.
Do that and just do what you love.
Mhm.
Have a great night.